Hello guys, today we are going to talk about the Romantic period. We are group number 4 and our group is composed by Deborah Canario, Arsenia Heredia, Maciel Heredia, Alexander Celedonio, and Elaine Caraballo, which is me.
Hi guys, my name is Deborah Canario. Right now I'm going to talk about Romanticism, also known as the Romantic era, was an artistic, literary, musical, and intellectual movement that originated in Europe toward the end of the 18th century. Romanticism, it was all about emphasizing of emotion and individualism as well as glorification all of the past in nature, preferring the medieval rather than the classical. Most people, when they hear the word romanticism, they think that they are talking about romance and relationship. But in my opinion, the romanticism area, it's most about emotion and how an individual can feel and think about the nature and about religions and different aspects that may affect their lives.
The Romantic period had many characteristics. The writings were based more on emotions and feelings than on reason or science. Writers of the Romantic movement explore more importance of imagination and the creativity. For Romantics, the imagination was a power of human mind. This was important to the Romantics because through imagination they produced important works. Romanticism was a literary movement that emphasized nature and the importance of emotions and artist freedom. In this period, emotion was powerful than rational thought. In art and writing, they were focused in experience through a connection with the nature. The individualism was other important characteristics. The writers gave importance to self-expressions and individual feeling.
The four major themes in Romanticism. Emotion. The Romanticism era had many attitude characteristics that were directly opposite to the Enlightenment period. The Romantics believed that using emotion over reason was the more valiant choice. They presented this idea throughout the period in many of the works of the time. Imagination. The imagination was elevated to a position as the supreme faculty of the mind. The Romantics tended to define and to present the imagination as our ultimate shaping or creative power, the approximate human equivalent of the creative powers of nature. Nature. With the Romantics, the theme of nature becomes major. Nature is, for many poets of the early 19th century, most tangible incarnation of God. It is through her that, as we see in Hugo and Lamartine, the divine vast expresses his greatness. It is a place conducive to meditation, melancholy recalled by the cycle of seasons. Social class. Romanticism influenced political ideology, inviting engagement with the cause of the poor and oppressed and with ideals of social emancipation and progress. The individual was prized, but it was also felt that people were under an obligation to their fellow men. Personal commitment to the group was therefore important. The novel and the Gothic. Gothic literature is a genre that emerged as one of the earliest forms of dark romanticism in the late 1700s, a literary genre that emerged as a part of the larger romanticism movement. Gothic writers were peering into the darkness and at the supernatural. Gothic horror functions as an extension of the romantic notion of literary pleasure that literature should inspire deeply felt emotional responses. Gothic horror sought to instill a pleasing sort of terror and thrill from its emphasis on taboo subjects, such as Satanism and matters of the occult, that both fascinated and repelled polite English society.
So let's talk about romantic fiction. Romantic fiction is not only one of the most popular forms of fiction we have, it is one of the oldest and most distinguished. To explore further into a definition, a romance is a work in which the plot centers around a love relationship, and the plot line must be substantial enough for us to keep interested from one chapter to another one. In other words, we as the reader must be able to say when reading the books that we care about these people and what happened to them, and I want the best for them, despite the personal and circumstantial obstacle that wants to keep them apart. The genre of romantic fiction has two strict criteria. The first, the first is that the story must be focused on the relationship and romantic love between two people. Secondly, the end of the story must be positive, leaving us believing that the protagonist's love and relationship will endure for the rest of their life. Now let's talk about the authors. Um, let's start with Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He wrote his most notable works during the Enlightenment period, but it would be his influence on the next era of artful thinkers which would earn him the title of the father of Romanticism. Rousseau was influenced on the coming era, was the most prominent with his biography titled Confessions. Now, let's talk about other writers of the American Romantic era. We have Edgar Allan Poe, that was an American poet and author, and he was considered an influential member of the American Romantic movement, and he wrote fiction, poetry, essays, and literary criticism. We have Walt Whitman, who wrote Leaves of Grass, a groundbreaking new styles of poetry. Whitman was a bridge between the movement of transcendentalism and realism. Emily Dickinson was an American female poet that left a legacy of many. She's short, vivid poems, often on themes of death and mortality. Guys, thank you so much for watching our videos. I hope you enjoy and thank you so much.